Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for not taking my ex in, after she lost her job, apartment and has no one to turn to? We have a kid together, which is the only reason I am asking for judgment. Me, 31 male, and my ex, 29 female, broke up 6 months ago after being together for 9 years. To make a long story short, she cheated and I hate her guts. The fact she cheated also lost her pretty much all her friends, as they were mostly mutual friends who chose my side, for lack of a better way to phrase it. After I ended it with her, I swallowed my pride and got along with her for the sake of our daughter, but let me be clear, that's also the only reason, and any and all talking I do with her is always about our daughter. I also need to clarify that she has no family to turn to, and the guy she cheated with was a one-night stand, so nothing there either. Which is undoubtedly why she came to me. When she came to drop of our daughter, 50-50 custody, she also arrived with a couple of suitcases in tow. When I asked her if she was moving, she immediately started telling me what had happened. She got fired last week, her lease had ran out and would not be renewed. Apparently the owner's son was going to live there and she only has savings to last her a few weeks if she gets a cheap hotel, and with the economy right now, she can forget about getting a job in her field anytime soon, and the rent prices are high as hell here. And that's on the off chance you can even find a place to begin with. After an awkward pause where she was probably expecting me to invite her to stay with me, which I obviously didn't, she asked me if she could stay with me. Now I got the room, 3-bedroom apartment, so I got a spare room. I make plenty to feed another mouth. Issue is, I hate her, like legitimately despise her. Like I said, the only reason I tolerate her in my life is our daughter. If she wasn't in the picture, I would have laughed in her face and slammed the door right away. I said no, obviously, to which she started saying she figured we were friends now and she has nowhere to go. I told her that we are not friends, and that the only reason I speak to her at all is our daughter. She should not mistake me being civil with friendship. She started crying and pretty much begging. I lost my crap, told her the fact she had the guts to ask to live with me after everything she did is literally testament to the piece of crap she is, and told her she'd better get a job and a place since I am not leaving our daughter with her in a crappy hotel room, and close the door. Now here is the thing, at the end of the day she is the mother of my daughter, so I feel responsible and sort of guilty despite the fact I hate her, so I wanted the judgment of strangers on the internet. Well, here I am. Now for the top judgments. Not the a-hole. I don't actually blame her for asking if she was truly desperate, but expecting you to say yes to the point of bringing along suitcases? She should have known better. Honestly, I can't fathom how she figured I'd say yes. Probably hoping to get you to agree out of awkwardness, or something of the like. Not the a-hole. She made her bed. It is rough that the daughter has to realize her mom is not stable, but it's the truth, and the toxic environment that would result in someone you hate living under your roof would be unhealthy for her. And given my ex spends all her free time at home, that means I'd never be rid of her even for a moment until she gets a job either. You just know she'd milk that for everything she could too. A few days turns into a few weeks, then a few months, then it's, how dare you try to kick me out, we could be a family again. How could you break the family up? How could you do this to your daughter, etc., etc. Not the a-hole. Cheaters get what comes to them. I suggest you go through the courts and fight for full custody of your daughter. Keep her safe. Your ex can get her stuff together while you keep the baby in a stable situation. Or not. Either way, it's not your responsibility to take care of your ex, just because she's the mother of your child. Your responsibility is to your daughter and they are not a package deal. WTF. By the way, I am a mother who co-parented for 18 years. It's not easy, but it's not impossible either. Put those healthy boundaries up ASAP, and build stability for your daughter. Good luck. If she does not get a stable living and work situation, I am going to sue for full custody, of course. Now for the second story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister-in-law move into my home temporarily? My husband is deployed, and has been for almost 11 months. We have a 3-year-old daughter and a 14-month-old son. My sister-in-law, 43, has an 11-year-old daughter who she allows to run amok. Last month, she asked her best friend to move in with her to help pay bills, and this sparked an affair between her husband and said friend. I feel bad for her, I truly do. But there are many reasons why I don't want her to move in. The biggest one, she now calls me to tell me all the time that men are pigs, and that my husband is probably cheating on me. Mind you, this is her brother. She doesn't have a job and refuses to get one. She has not worked in 16 years. Her daughter has literally no discipline, and every time they have visited, she has left my home in complete shambles with my kids' toys broken and destroyed. Her daughter also lies like a rug and she laughs it off and says that it isn't a big deal. Example, her daughter drew all over my spreadsheet for work that was completely finished, and due the very next morning. I didn't have time to make another one and had to spend several hours trying to use whiteout. She even wrote her name on it. The kid outright denied it and tried blaming my oldest, who only scribbles. Her mom said, she said she didn't do it, and I'm not going to break her spirits simply because she drew on something. Put your stuff up for safekeeping next time you invite us for a visit. I did not invite her. She showed up unannounced. She always says things like, "What are you getting your favorite sister-in-law for her birthday?" or, "Since you love me so much, you should buy me this." Anyways, I just can't do it. So, she asked last week, or rather told me, "Well, it's final. Greg and I are over. Teresa and I are going to come crash at your place." Literally like an outright demand, as if I owe her. So I said, "No, you're not." She freaked out and asked me why, and I was completely honest with her, down to every last detail. I simply don't have enough patience and I don't want her in my house while I am not there to make sure her daughter doesn't destroy my house. My husband called and I told him what happened. He said, "You told her no, right?" So he's 100% behind me on this one. But my brother-in-law is saying that I'm a stupid witch for not being more understanding, because her husband cheated, and staying in the house with him and his mistress is going to cause a mental plummet. Am I the a-hole? She can't afford to go anywhere else and no one has room to house her. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If her cheating husband wants his wife out of the house then he can pay for it. Why are they involving you into their mess? She always tries involving me in her mess. She's been like this for as long as I have known her, 12 years. This is hers and her husband's mess. You owe her nothing and even though you didn't have to, you gave her an explanation and she's further proving that living with her would be a nightmare. And if she's not working, then her and her child would be dependent on you / bossing you around non-stop. Not the a-hole. They've made it clear they would not be good guests. If your brother-in-law is so concerned about her impending mental plummet he can host them. While I agree with you, I do think the brother-in-law in question is the fellow who cheated on her. Not the a-hole, but I'm confused. Why is the woman her husband cheated on her with, would be allowed to stay in the house? She and the kid would get the house and he would have to go find another living arrangement. If she leaves, it's very unlikely she would get it in the divorce. I would recommend she stayed and kicked him out. I recommended the same thing, but apparently her husband refuses to leave and the mistress has taken over the bedroom. He says that since he has been supporting her for 16 years and she hasn't paid for literally anything, that he is not obligated to leave because it's his house. Her name isn't on it and he made her sign a prenup upon marriage. So essentially, she will get nothing in this divorce. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for living with my grandma at 31, and telling people to shut the F up when they tell me to get a real job? I always considered my grandparents my parents. My grandpa passed in January. I had been working at the same store since a teenager. I made a pretty decent wage since I had 14 years of raises, but I hated it. It was really taking a toll on my mental health, and after my grandpa passed, it just made everything worse. My grandma was also not doing well. She has always had an extreme fear of being alone and was grieving her husband she had spent 64 years with. I was spending as much time with her as possible and trying to cheer her up. Then when the virus hit, I started worrying about catching and giving it to her. We decided I would quit, I would move in with her. Then she wouldn't have to be alone and I wouldn't have to have a job I hate. This has worked out well for us. Both of our mental health has improved. This has also given me the time and energy to start taking college classes online. Ever since my mom found I quit and moved in with my grandma, she has been spamming me, calling me a loser and a deadbeat. I blocked her, so she calls my grandma and makes her cry. She tells her she's holding me back by letting me live with her, that I'm an embarrassment to the family. She also told her I'm being guilt-tripped into it. Not true. My grandma blocked her, now she recruits neighbors to pry. Because my grandma won't kick me out, my mom and stepdad wrote us out of their wills. Now if something happens to them, neither of us get my siblings, because according to my mom and stepdad, they will grow up to be a loser like me. This has completely devastated my grandma and she worries what will happen to them. She also now fears they are right, and that she is holding me back from having a better life, and that I don't actually want to be here. Now my grandma says everyone will benefit if she is gone. I could have the house to myself or rent it out or sell it, then not have to worry about money. Go to a good university instead of a community college. She thinks if I go to a better school, I will get a better job and this will impress my mom and stepdad and they will let me have the kids. I don't want my grandma going anywhere. This is her home, she took me in when I was a kid. She was there for me, I have no problem being here for her. I still have some income from other work. I have no debt. I may not have a 401k or something, but I do have a good bit of money saved up. Everyone else seems to think there is a problem. But my only problem is nosy neighbors and my other family members prying into my life. Now, when my mom has someone else call me or my grandma, I tell them to shut the F up and mind their own damn business. Some of these people have complained to my mom and stepdad that I was rude to them, but I really don't think I'm the one being an a-hole. My therapist says there is never a reason to be rude. I'm getting close to telling her to shut the F up as well. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. How dare you tell someone who is harassing you to shut up? Unacceptable. For real, if you're taking college classes and have enough savings to make it through COVID, I don't see a problem. If you were just chilling and bumming out, that would be different. Get that degree, get a good job and support your grandma. Sometimes I think they are jealous that I never had a real job and yet I have savings. They can't manage their money at all. Side note, you can't will your kids to someone. They certainly take your wishes into consideration, but it's not black and white like that. If something does happen to them, just make sure your ducks are in a row, and talk to whoever they willed them to. It might be that simple, or it might involve some lawyers. You got this. Not the a-hole. Your mom should mind her own business, mostly since she sounds like she was a terrible mother for you growing up. How is she supposed to know what's best when she couldn't be a good mother? I'm assuming this, because you said you always considered your grandparents your parents. For both your situations it was probably the best for you both, but with your mom harassing your grandma, I'd check to see if that's elderly abuse because she shouldn't be able to do that to an elderly woman. Also, you're going to college now and even if it's community, you can eventually transfer to a 4-year if you want to. That will open better opportunities for you. Your assumptions are right and I wish I had went to college at 18. I found I had to leave my grandparents as soon as I graduated high school or I would be a low-life burden. I ended up stuck in a rut and wasting my youth working jobs that led to nowhere. My mom is pretty well blocked now, and my grandma has been telling the neighbors they are misinformed and if they are worried about me, they can speak to me directly. Your mother has some goddamn nerve calling you a loser, when she was clearly a pretty crap mom and is now being a crap daughter. You moved in to care for your grandmother, because she was lonely and needed companionship if not physical help. That's a kind and selfless thing, even if you are also happier there. And I'm guessing your mother had something to do with you feeling like you'd be a burden if you stayed with your grandparents while going to school at 18? Stop listening to your mother. She's not a good person, she doesn't give good advice, and she's the one holding you back and being unsupportive. Your grandmother is the greatest of all time, and please tell her we all say so. She's starting to sound depressed and that's concerning, and maybe hearing that everyone on the internet thinks she's great will help. Not the a-hole. I don't really understand people's objections. You're a student, a debt-free student. Not many of them about. You are also caring for your grandmother, which is a job in itself. How is your grandmother holding you back when you are now getting a degree? It sounds to me as if everyone was happy when you were slogging through your crappy job. They didn't care that you were unhappy, just that you had a job. Now that you are bettering yourself, they can't put you in that neat little box anymore, and they're freaking out. Ignore them. And get a new therapist. They didn't consider that job real. Or any of my other jobs, since I usually had more than one at a time. They would talk crap then, but not as frequently, and they weren't bothering my grandma. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.